Welcome, greetings, salutations, one and all. Welcome to the Ultimate Hockey Show. Myself and Rich Petty here tonight. Wishing you all a great Monday night. 1 week away from the NHL game of the night occurring in Winnipeg between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Winnipeg Jets. Can't wait for that game. That's why our show is going to be next Tuesday as a programming alert. So that I can attend that game with my father. Which should be good. Always good in Jetland. How are you this week, Rhett?
Good. Actually, very good. I was fighting a cold for some type of bug the last 2 weeks, and it's just starting to feel better. I'm going to play hockey for the first time in 2 weeks tonight. Actually, the first time in 2 weeks that I've done anything physical other than walking around. So,
or the dog.
Pardon?
Or the dog.
Or the dog, exactly. Like walking around, walking to this room, walking to that room, walking up the stairs, but I haven't done anything physical. Well, I shouldn't say that. I worked in the yard a little bit for a few hours.
Fair enough.
But yeah. But otherwise, doing great.
So I have a question, Red.
Yes, sir.
Where's Radker?
I don't know, but the Jets fans were itching. I went to the game last night or yesterday afternoon, and I thought that he would be in the lineup, right? That's what we thought because he was in. He's been, I guess, right. But if you go up to 9 games or whatever, then you can send him to the minors or they send him to the minors. That's true because that's actually the 9 games won't matter because that's only if you have to go back to junior or the 10 games. But he's still he's in the minor. But they were getting ramped up because in the third period the Jets were up and it was like maybe 8 or 10 minutes left or whatever. And all I heard was because I was thinking they're going to do this. Sure enough, I thought it was going to be Jaeger's better, and it was Brandon's better.
Oh man,
Brent, because we couldn't figure out what it was. Brent, like it's a sort of like mumbly, right? And then it got louder and louder, and then all of a sudden, Brandon's better, and you could hear it clear as bell, and then everybody was laughing.
Oh my, yeah. And then I got a video sent to me now. For context, with I was on the air during a hockey game yesterday while this game was going on.
Yeah.
And I had the video sent to me with the "Where's Radker" chant, immediately followed by the "Jaeger is better" chant.
Yeah.
And I literally lost it on the air. I was so happy. I couldn't wait till the next intermission to play the video out in full, and then play it again and again and again and again. I might have played that video, but I was sent 8 or 10 times.
Yeah,
it was that good.
But the sad part is because like he wasn't traded to a Central Division rival. You're only going to see him maybe once a year, and if he's injured in that game, you might not see him at all. So it might be another 2, 3, 5 years until we actually see him in Winnipeg Arena or in the Canada Life Center. But here's the thing. Winnipeg fans have a good memory, and they'll put that one in the vault. They'll lock it up. And when he's in the lineup, 1, 2, 3, 5 years down the road, whatever it is, and he's in Winnipeg, chant will come up, and it'll come out, especially if it happens to be around the same time. Like, let's say it's in 3 years from now or 2 years from now when Jaeger is in the Jets lineup and McGroarty is in the Penguins lineup. That will be chef's kiss. So there you go.
I have a question though off of that.
Yeah.
Do we read into anything that he got assigned to the minors 2 days before this game?
No, I don't. Don't read too much.
No, I'm not saying there's a reason behind it, but for the conspiracy theorists to say, yes, he got sent so that he didn't have to avoid, this whole charade that would have been having to deal with the media, et cetera, et cetera. They just sent him down to eliminate the problem.
Fine, but you know what? You can't run away from it. You're going to get it eventually when you come, and actually, it will be more significant. As like I said, if he comes a year from now, and that's his rookie season, and that's Jaeger's rookie season, you'll have the two in the lineup against each other at the same time. That'll be even more of a reason to ask him those questions and talk with him about it. So you can't avoid it. You got to be a man and stand up. I don't think they sent him down. Teams don't worry about nonsense like that because they could always make him unavailable if they wanted to. So
correct. Yeah, you're right. You're right. There was a good pregame ceremony yesterday for Brian Little.
Yeah.
I did happen to see that while I was having my lunch in between games. Brian Little came out with the team during the starting lineup, did one last lap, and then did the ceremonial face-off with Sidney Crosby.
Mhm.
Your thoughts on being in the building? Because I heard the audio, and the noise looked to be quite significant.
Yeah,
Was it in the building?
yeah. It was very nice. Actually, it was it was interesting because I didn't see the warm up because he didn't come out for the warm up. I was
No.
in the lobby. I was having something to eat, and then I went to my seat right at the top of the hour, so a few minutes before the players came on the ice and everything else. So of course they announce players coming out. All the lights go out in the place, and then they pop on as they come out. And this number 18 comes out in a heritage jersey. And what I thought they were going to do, similar to what they've done in the past when they recognized Wheeler's 1,000th game and when they recognized that player who had played for us and then Edmonton, like the Oilers, that he was here for 1 year. I can't remember his name.
Henry?
No. The guy that played for us for 1 year, he's been in the league for like 50. His father was an NHLer. Why is it? It's just on the tip of my tongue.
Gagne.
Gagne, thank you, Sam Gagne. So anyway, when they did the same thing for him, the 1,000th game, they come out and they're all wearing a number 26 Wheeler jersey, right? Or a number, whatever he was wearing at that time. Well, this 18 comes shooting out. He's the first one out, right? And I figure, they're all wearing, the little jerseys. But then the next number comes out and it's Ehlers 27 and then Barron 36. And everybody's, who is that? That's Brian Little. And he's skating around. He has no helmet on. He's skating around. And the fans, it was like a second or two because everyone they saw him and then they couldn't figure it out. And then folks started realizing what's going on here. And then they'll just the cheering and the laughing and what's sort of the not laughing at, you know what I mean? Like the excitement of it grew and grew. And then the fans were going crazy and clapping and cheering. And it was really good. And you could tell, I don't think he'd hide that. But when he was skating around, when it was just him, actually, they all went back to the bench. He was skating and the fans were all cheering.
Yeah.
He got choked up. They zoomed in on him and his face was in. And now he wasn't crying, but his eyes were watery to the point where the tears could come, like they were right at the verge of coming out. So I really appreciate it. I think it was really nice for the Jets because his career ended so oddly with that injury.
Unceremonious.
Yeah, that shot to the head from Nick Ehlers, who was right in the slot, and he's shooting at a 4x6 net, and he shoots it 6 feet wide and 4 feet high, and hits Brian Little right in the head, in the ear, and cracks his eardrum and whatever else.
Yep.
Caused all that damage so that he doesn't have equilibrium that well to be able to play anymore and whatever else. But anyway, I'm sure he doesn't blame Nick Ehlers. It's an injury. It happens, right? But the way his career ended, it was kind of abrupt. He wasn't cut. It wasn't like he left in free agency. He got injured, and then the Jets traded him or his rights to Phoenix to be able to move salary cap space to bring it back in. And so Phoenix took it, and then they brought him back now to retire. I just think it's a really classy move. It's not that they're retiring his jersey. It's just this is a guy that came in here in Jets 2.0. He was part of that first crew. And I would agree. There was a few fans that were making comments on the screen in between some of the plays. And I totally agree with that, is that Brian Little was a consummate pro. He wasn't a superstar. He was, on most teams, would be a second-line center. He was a first-line center for a few years because the Jets at the beginning weren't a very good team. They were very young in some places, and they had a lot of holes in their lineup. And he played first-line center with Wheeler and with Ladd. But he'd be a second-line center. He was very good defensively. He'd get you the 50 to 60 points a year, a point or 0.7 points per game average. You could get about 50 to 60 in his career, throughout his career. Solid on the power play, could kill penalties, good at the end of the game. You could put him on the ice. He was defensively sound. He was just one of those guys that would be a great player on your team, not a superstar, but a guy that you'd want on your team because he did all the things that were important about hockey. He did them well. and he did them with responsibility. And that's what I remember about Brian Little. And he was always gracious. He played a ton of games. He never got injured until the end of his career. He usually played 82 games a year, mostly. Yep. He missed one or two. So he was reliable. He was in the lineup a lot. He always spoke well of Winnipeg, well-spoken, was good with the media, was good with charities. He's a guy, and that's what Winnipeg likes. They don't like a guy that's all, with his nose in the air and has no time for this and no time for that, riding around in his limo. Brian Little was a consummate pro and a consummate pro for the Winnipeg market. And I think what they did for him.
I think honestly, he embodied a lot of what Winnipeg is.
Yeah. Well, and the fans recognize him. And you know what? He may not get his jersey retired with the Jets. Probably not. I don't know who's going to get their Jet jersey retired. Maybe Wheeler might be the first, possibly.
Byfuglien?
I don't think Byfuglien will. I think Wheeler will. Maybe when Scheifele's all done, probably he will, and Hellebuck, because they've got long-term contracts signed here, so they're going to be career Jets. Yep. Probably they will have their numbers retired. But it's just a classy thing, and they should do it, in my opinion. They should do it not just for Brian Little. They should do it for Andrew Ladd, and they should do it for Wheeler when he retires. Now, I don't know the circumstances of it all. Where do you start? Where do you stop? Do you do it for Byfuglien? He's got a lot of issues with the Jets. He was angry at the Jets when he left. He played it out very oddly. He didn't do the right thing for the Jets. I think the Jets have some issues with him. He has some issues with the Jets because of those health and insurance and doctors and everything else. Andrew Ladd, I'm not sure if that's a smooth, departure when he left in free agency. I'm not sure. Wheeler, I think, has a really good relationship here in Winnipeg and with the Jets management and True North. So I think him, when he retires, I think he could be recognized as well. But where do you go? Do you go to Mark Stewart? Do you go to you could go down the row, right? Who else are you going to recognize? You could just go. I don't know where you start and where you stop, but anyway.
Yeah, no, it's just like, if you do it for one, do you do it for everybody, right? It's like, where does the line stop? I agree with you.
Yeah.
On the ice, Jets are 5-0. Are you surprised?
I'm a little bit surprised, but I was just actually, if you go into or onto the TSN website, and you look at the NHL power rankings, the first one of the season, do you know who's at the top of that list?
I haven't seen it, no.
Your Winnipeg Jets.
It should be.
They're the only undefeated team, so they're number one. Rangers are number two. Flames are three. Wow. They're
4-0-1. They lost in regulation to Seattle on Saturday.
You mean they lost in overtime?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That Flames team is interesting. I don't know that they're going to be able to maintain that for a whole year, but that's fine. But the Jets are right now ranked number one. They are really, really, really surprising to me. There's a part of me that's surprised, that part not. I don't know if we chatted about this last week, but part of me is really surprised because they didn't change that much. They lost some guys, right? They lost Toffoli, they lost Monahan, they lost.
Have fun in San Jose, by the way, Toffoli.
Yeah, Toffoli in San Jose, Monahan in Columbus. Oh, they lost the defenseman, Dylan to New Jersey. So, and then they lost Laurent Brossoit. So they lost 4 pretty good players from their lineup from last year, but they lost in the first round of the playoffs. So they go back now. They don't do this big free agent push. They say, we're going to give it open to young guys. We're going to get young guys in the camp. A lot of young guys came through, but they maintain their system. They keep going with what Rick Bowness had established. Scott Arniel continues it. Pressure, puck, forechecks, lots of skating. They've got lots of speed on that team. And you know what? I think they have an advantage. I don't know that they're the strongest team on their lineup right now. I just don't. I don't like that second line. I know they scored lots in the last pair of games. I'm just not sure you're going to win in the playoffs having a second line of Nemestikov centering Ehlers and Perfetti, because that whole line, there's nobody over 6 feet or 190 pounds. So that's my question mark. But this team, I think they have the advantage of not a lot of turnover, a lot of experience. They know the system. They have an established coach. They have an established system. They have established players. These guys have played with each other for a long time, the last 3, 5, 7 years. They know each other. They rely on each other. They trust on each other. And that at the beginning of the season can be a big advantage versus, like we were talking about with Nashville, they bring in all this talent, but they haven't made it work and fit together as a complete unit. And until that happens, you're going to struggle because the separation between winning and losing in the NHL, as we've always talked about, is marginal. It's very small.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Are we really that surprised with the Jets? I mean, let me preface by saying they were 4th overall in the NHL last year, right?
Yeah.
With a middle of the road, with the poorest power play and a poorest penalty kill.
Yeah.
While the power play is up to a significant amount of notches, people would suggest that the percentage is unsustainable. The penalty kill looks a lot better. Maybe we shouldn't be surprised this is where they are. Because didn't we say if the power play and the penalty kill are middle of the pack, the Jets are first in the Central last year?
No, I agree with you, but and I'm not surprised from the regular season standpoint. Okay, I'm not surprised, but that first round loss to Colorado leaves a really bad taste in my mouth.
It does. It does.
And it's those guys are still in the lineup. They're all there. Like you taken out Monahan and Toffoli. Okay, fine. You took out Brendan Dillon. You moved up Sandberg. You've got Coleman. I don't think there's a huge changeover on the defense in the 6 guys that are playing now. I don't think there's a huge changeover in the team. You brought in a lot of younger guys, but my concern is when the playoffs come, will this team be able to measure up and play that style in the playoffs as well as they can play that style during the regular season? I don't know, but I agree with you on that. I think the largest change that has had the largest impact on this team is the power play and the penalty killing. The power play is the very best in the league after 5 games right now. They're number 1. They're the only team over 40% on power play, and their penalty killing is very good. They've only let in a pair of goals over 5 games. I don't know what the percentage is, but they're not like the best, but they're not the worst either. So, but anyway,
and I didn't include yesterday. I think I saw their percentage was somewhere around 75%.
Okay, but they haven't had a lot of penalties called against them.
Yeah. So that's the problem.
Yeah.
People can look early in the season and they can say, "Oh, penalty kills at 75%, a power play that's 55 or 60%."
Yeah.
Sure, but if you're not getting a lot of special teams work, 1 out of 2 is 50%, right? And you take an average of 4 penalties, and let's say you take an average of 4 penalties a game, you give up 1 goal a game. Your penalty kill is operating at 70%. It skews the number because we're working with such small sample sizes right now.
Yeah, you're right. And that's why, this week the Jets go on the road for 3 games. Is it 3 games before our next show?
Yeah, 3 games. It's,
the 4 games because we're not doing the show until the 29th. But anyway, so they're going to have 3-4 games. I mean, in theory, the Jets could go 500 in that series and they fall right back into the pack, right? Like 5 games into the season is not, it's a sample size, but it's not a great sample size. So it's great. I'm happy they're 5-0 and not 0-5. So that part makes me happy. But I mean, they're not going to go 82-0 for the regular season. But playing that way, high tempo, pressuring the puck, you have Hellebuck in net, you can win any game. And if that power play keeps going and they can kill enough penalties and they don't take a lot of penalties, you can win a lot of games with a good power play, not taking a lot of penalties, and a Vezina goaltender. And then a team that plays a really good system. You don't need to score. I mean, they're scoring 6 goals last night. They scored 8 goals the night before. In the other games, they only scored 2, one of them in overtime, and they won because you can win a lot of games if you play the right way, right? Even if you don't score a lot of goals. So
yeah.
they're in a very good place right now, but it's a long season. Look, injury can happen. Scheifele can get cranked and his knee can get cranked around and he could be gone for 2 or 3 months. Like it's anything can happen, right? So you lose Scheifele, you lose Morrissey, you lose Connor. It can have a huge impact on that team. So
yeah, so here's a question, Red, and pardon me for the ignorance, that I did not watch any of the last two Jets games, so I was only able to read and see some highlights. But what did you think of it? And you were in the building yesterday, and this might be an unfair characteristic or an unfair characterization, but what did you think of Gustafson in for Kupari, Logan Stanley in the lineup, and then Eric Comrie in net? Like, it took some. I'll give Stoddard Nail credit. I think it took some gumption on Stoddard Nail's part to mess with a winning lineup, to get 3 new pieces and a new goaltender in the lineup before the road trip. How do you think those new pieces fared? Granted, one game and they hadn't played, and Logan Stanley had only played in the one preseason game before getting into yesterday's game.
right.
Are we seeing a new sort of coming of age that the same lineup for recognition, I should say, that the same lineup for the lion's share of games isn't necessary and is not sustainable, and hence why we got 3 sort of changes?
Well, I don't think it's that complicated. I mean, they had Scott Arniel on the radio after the game, and they asked him about it, and he said, it's very true. He says you don't like making lineup changes when you're winning, right? They won 4 in a row.
Right.
He said, but we're going to play, and it's true. If you look at the schedule, they play every second day, starting from tomorrow until
Middle of November.
Saturday, November the 9th. So for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. For the next 10 games, they play 10 games in 20 days. 21 days from today. So they're going to have to rely on lots of bodies and be smart. And, if you're up late in a game, make sure the fourth line is playing lots. And Scott Arniel said, I can't have guys sitting out for long stretches. Comrie has to play. We're not going to play Hellebuck for 82 games. So we need to rely on Eric. He needs to play. That's why he played. And then he said, for Gustafson and Stanley, it's not that Kupari and Fleury play terrible. It's that we need to get Stanley and Gustafson into the lineup because we're going to need them on this road trip. If somebody gets injured, if somebody gets sick, if somebody ggets run down, you don't know what can happen. You got to have guys ready. And if guys are sitting longer, the longer they sit, the harder it is for them to come back. So his whole thinking was, we don't just if we're going to carry these guys, we want them to play and not just be in the press box for 20, 30 games in a row. So to answer your question, almost exactly what you're saying. It's being smart because you don't know what's going to happen in the future, and you've got a plan for all of these scenarios. And so that's what his thinking is. So I'm thinking when Heinola gets healthy, he was skating. Apparently, they were talking about him too in the post game, and they said he's going to start skating or has started skating, maybe in a non-contact jersey, and he might be a few weeks away. I don't know if he's going on the team or on the trip with the team. Maybe not, because it's still 3 games. That's not enough time for him to come back on. But they're going to get him in the lineup just like Stanley. As soon as he's healthy and ready to go, they will 100% put him in the lineup just to get him regular and to see how things go. So I think it's smart. How do you see it? Like, do you think it's a dumb idea to change the lineup?
No, it isn't. It isn't. And to me, I think we're seeing the real evolution of change and understanding change, if you know what I mean. Because previous coaches would have kept the same lineup in for no apparent reason. Hellebuyck would have played every game, at least up to 7 in a row before coming out. I think we're finally starting to see a new age of coaching and realizing that, hey, it's okay to get other guys in the lineup because they need to be in the lineup because they need to play.
Yep.
Like, to me, if they're on your team, they're playing. Like, and I know this is a real dumb example, but when I coach ball hockey, if I'm taking somebody to nationals, I'm not taking them so they can sit on the bench and sit in the press box the whole week. I'm taking them because I can play them.
Yeah.
Same kind of deal. I think you're in the NHL, you're on the bench, you're on the scratches side of things, but you're not meant to be there long term. And if scratches can't play or you don't trust them, then why are they on your team? And I think with two, we're going to have this internal competition of, okay, this is what the lineup did for the first 4 games. Now we move 3 guys in. Now tomorrow we probably bring Kapari back in, or maybe it stays the same. Fleury didn't really do anything to get his spot moved. Maybe he comes back in. It's all about internal competition. And I think sufficiently you would agree with me that's not something that we've had a lot of here in Winnipeg. It's always been, here's your 12 forwards, here's your 6 defensemen, there are your 2 goalies.
Yeah.
And unless of an injury. So it's just very interesting. You know, in that regard. And, you know, I you'd agree with me. Hayden Murray hasn't done anything to be removed from the lineup.
Yeah.
This is just about getting somebody into the lineup.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, I saw the games. I've watched all 5 games. I saw last night's game in person, but I saw the other ones on TV. Hayden Fleury has played well. Now, is he Josh Morrissey? No, and he's not going to tell you he's Josh Morrissey. You know what he is? He's a third pairing defenseman and potentially your 7th defenseman, who's your black ace in the lineup or in the press box. That when somebody gets injured or needs a night off, he comes into the lineup. But he's a pro. He was a first-round draft pick. You know what? He's a good skater. He's pretty big. He's about 6'2". He's not huge. He's not overly tough, but he clears the front of the net. He plays a nice game, but he's not a superstar. He does exactly what you want in that third pairing with Colin Miller. And same for Colin Miller. Colin Miller's, he's a veteran. He played with Vegas when they won against the Jets in 2018 and knocked them out of the conference final and went to the Stanley Cup final and lost to Washington there that year.
Yay!
He's 31 years old. He's got the hardest shot on the team, one of the hardest shots in the league. I like Colin Miller in that lineup. I like him on that third line when he goes out the third or fourth line. They get him the puck back on the blue line, pound that sucker at the net, and go for rebounds. That shot, nobody wants to stand in front of that thing. It's a good 10 miles an hour faster and harder than anybody else's. So you need guys like him and Logan Stanley in the lineup because Dylan DeMello, he just shoots wrist shots. He doesn't even know how to shoot a slap shot. I don't think I've ever seen him take a slap shot. And Josh Morrissey has a good slap shot, but it's not hard. It's accurate, but it's not hard. But yeah, and Sandberg is okay. Neil Pionk has a pretty good slap shot. It's pretty hard. But I think Logan Stanley and Colin Miller, they got 2 cannons. And I think that's what you want with that fourth line. Get the puck out of the corner to the point, shoot, go for rebounds, go to the front of the net. And I like those guys, but I agree with you. They haven't worked their way out of the lineup. It's just the Jets have invested in Stanley and Heinola, and they want those guys to succeed. Stanley didn't play well yesterday. Now you could call it rust or whatever. He coughed up the puck a few times in their own zone. One cost the goal. The other 2 or 3 times they were able to figure it out and get a stop and play or get the puck out. But that's just timing. It's just playing. But he doesn't look great, but he's got to play. He's got to play regularly in the lineup to build confidence to get there. And the Jets are not going to give up on a first-round draft pick on Stanley or on Heinola that easily. And if they're
GM made 11 on those first-round picks.
Exactly. And if they're healthy, I just think all things being equal, if Stanley, Heinola, Fleury, and Miller are all healthy and they're all ready to go, I think the Jets are going to put in for sure one of the 2 Stanley and Heinola with Miller. And if not, it might even be the pair of them together, Fleury and Heinola, which is what I thought at the beginning of the season, because, yeah, that's what it is. So anyway, but I want to talk about something else. If you're, hello,
let's talk about this. Okay. We made a lot of consternation last week about the second line. The second line had a really great week.
Yes, but I'm not sold on them because they're too small. They're shifty, but they're small.
Yeah.
Nick Ehlers has looked like a superstar the last 2 games. He was by far, the very best player throughout the whole game. I mean, there's certain times where you're not as noticed or whatever, but he was a driver on the team on Friday when they played San Jose. San Jose was coming off the game the night before, and they're not a good team, so the Jets jumped all over them. That's great. But yesterday afternoon's game, Nick Ehlers was like, there's a couple of, he set up one.
He single-handedly turned that game around.
Oh, Nemestikov, the pass to Nemestikov, and then the pass to Connor. Both of those are world class. Like maybe Connor McDavid makes a pass like that, maybe Sidney Crosby, but Nick Ehlers, like I know people say, "Oh, Ehlers, what does he do?" And they're not going to sign him. They're going to trade him because he's going to be a UFA. You know what? He is a special hockey player. He's making $6 million a year. If you could get him for 6.5, 7, get him for another. Like he's not going to get a huge raise unless he scores 50 goals this year. But if he gets,
which he hasn't done, because you're not going to base the guy's next contract on 1 year.
No, and he's averaged roughly 55 to 60 points. He's like Little. He gets about 0.7 points per game. Gets about 50 to 60 points a season in 82 games. So if he does that again this year, he gets like 58 points, gets maybe 30 goals and 28 assists, or 30 goals and 30 assists, whatever it is. He's going to be in line for a contract. Now, is he going to want to stay with Winnipeg, or is he going to test free agency? But they can't sign him for more than they signed Scheifele and Hellebuck.
Nope.
Scheifele and Hellebuck are signed for $8 million or 8 and change or whatever it is for the next 7 years or 8 years. So I'm just saying you can't sign him for $10 million a year, and he's not a $10 million a year player. You know what he is? He's about a $6 million a year player, maybe 6.5, maybe 7. I don't know. Maybe another team is going to spend $8 million or $9 million on him, but with Winnipeg, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to sign, but I'd love to see him sign maybe a 3 or 4 year deal here for $7 million a year. I don't know if the Jets are going to do it. I hope they do it, but he's a special player. But there's something else I wanted to mention to you, or maybe to finish my point. That line, I'm not sold on that line. I said it earlier. You're asking me the second line. Yeah, okay, it's a pair of games. One game was against the worst team in the league, coming off a game from the night before. It looked like a minor league team that they were playing against. It was a joke. They just skated around San Jose for 60 minutes. San Jose hardly touched the puck. So, and then this last game too, I mean, Pittsburgh doesn't really play a tough game. There wasn't any real hitting, so, but I'm just saying when the Jets played against some of those teams that ground them down, like when they played Minnesota and Chicago, I mean, that second line was invisible. I didn't see any of those three guys anywhere around the puck or around the net at any time throughout that game. So, but what's even more interesting, talking about invisible, that game last night, I saw Letang, I saw Carlson, I saw Malkin here or there. He got involved in some stuff or whatever. Yep. I cannot recall the last time that I watched a game with the Penguins with Sidney Crosby, and he was completely invisible. I don't know if any of our watchers or our listeners were at the game or watched it on TV, but how it looked on TV, I don't know. But in person, I didn't see Sidney Crosby. I mean, I was sitting at the game with my father, and after the third period, I said, "What, has Sidney Crosby even played? I know he's been on the power play, but I haven't seen anything. Like he did nothing. He was invisible. So I don't know if he's injured. I don't know what. I don't know if it's just the end of the line, or that's what happens with a 36-year-old player. Is there's some nights where you just don't have it. You're tired, and you don't have your mojo or whatever. But wow, like I never would have thought that I would go to a Penguins game to see Sidney Crosby play and say after the game, I'm not sure that I even remember him playing, because he was inconsequential. He was not involved in anything. Even on their power play, he wasn't really involved in anything. I don't know if he had a shot on net. And they got him playing, with a couple of, I should be careful. I said a couple of guys that are not at the same level. Like there's no Jake Gensel there on a line with him. He started
or an elite Brian Rust of 5 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. They had O'Connor. I don't know who this guy is. And they had Rust on the other side. Rustin O'Connor. I don't know what that is, but that's not Jake Gensel. That's not who is that other that Swedish player that played with him for a
Petters.
number. You know who I'm talking about, right?
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Who was like a hard to the net. Pardon? Hornquist, right? Another great player. Go to the net hard. Sniper, can score.
Hornquist is Finnish, by the way.
Yeah. I know he's retired, right? Or he's Finnish. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought he was Swedish. Sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway, all that to say, you say, wow, Sidney Crosby, he's invisible. Yeah, he's got nobody playing with him. If you put Sidney Crosby out there with Velarde and Connor, you might have something. You put him out there with Perfetti and Ehlers, you might have something. You put him out there with O'Connor and Rust. I mean, that's what they got. That's their lineup. But it's a shame. The superstar, he's going to retire, an NHL legend, and they got him out there playing with a couple of, I want to be careful what I say, a couple of guys that really shouldn't be playing with Sidney Crosby, in all fairness to them and to Sidney Crosby, in my opinion. But
anyway. Listen to this. Call me a cynic, call me whatever, call me nostalgic, whatever. I'll take it. He should be traded to the Edmonton Oilers just to watch the whole internet blow up.
Why would they trade him to the Edmonton Oilers?
Well, if he truly wants to go after one more cup, that's realistically the best chance, or the Rangers. It sure as heck does not happening in Pittsburgh.
No, that team, like I know they say, oh, one more shot and blah 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 blah. Kyle Dubas, he has to take a scalpel.
You better take a lighter and start blowing it up.
Well, I better take a scalpel and start making some surgical cuts on that team. That team, the way that is constructed, what I saw, that team is not. Never mind winning a Stanley Cup. I don't even know that they can make the playoffs. Did I pick them? I didn't even select them to make the playoffs, and I don't think they will.
There's nothing there. Okay, I watched maybe the first 40 minutes of the game. I saw the last 3 goals where the Jets came back from 2-0 down, and there was nothing in that Penguins team yesterday that struck fear into me.
Yeah, on their power play, maybe
on the power play, okay, but 5-on-5, man.
Yeah.
And Dubas thinks he's got kind of solution to get Crosby one more Stanley Cup. Yeah.
That team, Michael, it's not good enough. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not an NHL expert. I'm not a general manager. So what?
No, and Mike Sullivan said as much post game. If you listen to what he had to say,
what did he say?
We weren't good here. We weren't good there. We weren't there. We just were not good enough.
Yeah. Because you have a lot of old players on that team. Younger players have a little bit more jam, a little bit more speed. Like I said, the margin between winning and losing, winning a puck battle and losing a puck battle. I mean, getting to the puck first versus getting to the puck second. You know, all those little things, those little battles, little things. Younger teams like the Jets, they're just right at that peak. Another 5 years from now, the Jets won't be there with these players because they'll be too old.
That is why general managers need to realize and stop paying for loyalty and stop paying the guy and bringing him back because he won you 2 Stanley Cups.
Yeah.
If he can't do it anymore, he can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
You owe it to your franchise to move in a different direction. And I'm sorry, there's going to be really painful days ahead in Pittsburgh. They might have to hit rock bottom and be a lottery team. Even then, they don't have any prospects that are going to help them right now to get out of this. And when Crosby retires in 2 to 3 years, playing with Crosby and Malkin, if you happen to lose both of them, well, are you going to Pittsburgh if Crosby and Malkin aren't there? Like, I don't know. To me, it's just you're trying to hang on to something that is not there. You're trying to hang on to that winning feeling one more time because winning is addictive, because winning the Stanley Cup is amazing. But you're out of touch with reality. Sorry, Kyle. It's just I don't get it. And the Penguins are not a playoff team.
No, they're not.
And that's not even the Penguins, Rick. but have multiple injuries. You're talking about like front end guys, like Erik Karlsson at the bat 9 of his career. Evgeny Malkin, bat 9 of his career. Crosby, bat 9 of his career. Tristan Jarry, your franchise goalie, is a healthy scratch.
Crazy. That
like,
I don't want to
don't know how else to say.
But
to be honest, I like the direction of the Philadelphia Flyers right now more than I like the direction of the Pittsburgh Penguins.
And they're not winning either, actually. But yeah.
But you know what I mean? One has upside, one has the plan, one realizes. The longer you're in denial about needing a rebuild, the worse it's going to be. Anyway, end of rant. It's just sad to see. It's sad to see. Let's talk about the Colorado Avalanche. Boy, I know they've won their last 2 games, but man, they were giving up a lot of goals. 20 in 4 games. Gordiev couldn't stop a puck. Annunen couldn't stop a puck. Now, magically, the guy they got from the Jets, Kapanen, arrived as the 3rd goalie the other day. Are we being too harsh on Colorado, considering they've lost a lot of top-end forwards and a lot of top-end D to injury?
Well, who do they not have in the lineup right now?
They have Landis tied out of the lineup. We have
okay, but that's in the last 2 years. But
Valerie Nichushkin out of the lineup. Okay. The Jet Killer last year.
Yeah, well, and now he's going to come out of rehab. Apparently, he's coming back to the United States and he's training. But yeah, I don't know with Colorado. I think Colorado, and then also another big mystery is also with Nashville. They're 0-5. They've let in almost 5 goals a game. In their 5 games, they're 0-5. And they have a good goaltender. So I don't know what the problem is in Nashville, because they have a very good goaltender. And
the problem is they can't get the mitts to mitts fast enough.
Yeah, the Saros is a good guy. But Colorado, that team, like they're scoring, what is this here? Okay, they're scoring about 3.5, 4 goals a game. So they've scored enough to win a game. They can't keep the puck on that. That goal, they're goalies. I mean, they've let in 5 goals a game. That's an average. Like it's not good enough. And Georgiev is not the answer. He was their big guy last year. That Colorado team, you could put all the superstars you want. You can bring back Nishkinen. You can bring back Landeskog. It don't matter if you can't stop the puck. If you don't got a Hellebuck, you ain't gonna win. That's why I joked with you. We throw that out there. I said maybe they should make an offer to the Jets straight up, McKinnon for Hellebuck.
Yeah.
Would we make that trade?
No.
Straight up. No.
No.
Why? Because it would be not good enough, or it would be.
Well, hold on a minute.
Straight up.
Now?
Right now, today, if the Colorado GM gets on the phone and calls Chevy and says, "I'm trading Nathan McKinnon to you straight up for Hellebuck." Hellebuck, could you make that trade?
Are the Jets making a counter move for another goalie?
Well, I don't know. That's here nor there. You can make another move, sure. I'm just saying, that would solve your second line center problem.
But oh man.
And look at
the other thing is
Las Vegas. Look at Las Vegas. Win a Stanley Cup without a superstar goalie. Adin Hill, he's not a superstar.
You're really trying to top me into something, are you?
I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. I like Connor Hellebuck. I think he's going to help the Jets win a lot of games. But I'm just saying, if somebody comes and offers you a king's ransom for your number 1 goalie, something to chew on.
Well, here's the thing. You got Thomas Milic coming up. I think he's the future, whether you like it or not.
Who is?
In the next couple of years. Thomas Milic.
For the Jets?
Yeah, the goalie they drafted 2 years ago. He's with the Moose.
He's a little bit small, but he's a gamer. He's like half the size of Hellebuck. He's only like 6 feet or 6 feet.
He reminds me of UC Zaros, really.
Yeah. but he's a gamer and he's improved just like Hellebuck. Everywhere he's played, he's gotten better and better and better and improved and won. Yeah. So you're right.
So maybe you did a stopgap goalie for 2 years under your scenario, and then you put Milic in there.
I don't know. I'm not saying that the Colorado GM is calling Hellebuck. I'm not, or calling Chevy. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if that phone call happened, would you make that deal? Some people would say, "Oh, I never trade Hellebuck." Yeah, really? For Nathan MacKinnon, who's signed to a long-term deal at Colorado, just like Hellebuck is. I think they're for the same amount of term. It's like the next 7 years, 8 years. Now, I think he makes more money. I think he's around what, 10, 11 million, MacKinnon?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's a little bit more, but do you make that deal? I don't know. I might make that deal. But anyway.
To me, it's going to take a trade of that creativeness to get a second line center in here, who I'm not sure is Vladislav Namestnikov long term, as you know.
Right. And to get somebody who fits in, like, is it going to be like, again, last year, it's going to be right before, like a month before the trade deadline, where you can bring a guy on and you don't have to worry about the salary cap implications because you lost some injuries. And then when you get into the playoffs, you can bring everybody back, just like the old Colorado Avalanche, Tampa Bay Lightning scenario for the playoffs, right? Because I think if you would bring in another center, like at $6 million a year in April or in March, he has to fit under the salary cap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have to. Yeah. So I don't know what you do. You have to move somebody out or whatever you do, but I don't know how close
somebody on LTIR and you manipulate the cap like Tampa does.
Yeah. I don't know how close the Jets are to the cap. I'm not sure. But.
They are within 3 million.
Okay. So there you go.
Last I saw. So
okay.
Enough money to do something, but you tend to kill cap space by not using LTIR. So
why don't we talk about, oh, sorry.
Kevin Cheveldayoff and Larry Simmons are the masters of the salary cap, so I'm not worried.
Yes. So, but
what's on your mind?
Well, no. I was just going to say, I want to talk about Sidney Crosby, how I just think it's a shame. Actually, I was going to say, just to end my point, to me personally, it's a shame. Like, I know Sidney Crosby, he's a loyal guy. He wants to stay in a Penguins jersey for his career. I get that. Like, everybody, as much as say, oh, I can move wherever I want to win a cup. Then there's guys like Yzerman. They just want to iconic, like Steve Yzerman, you think of a Detroit Red Wing jersey, right? Can you imagine Sidney Crosby in any other jersey other than the Penguins? You can't. It's like Lemieux in Pittsburgh. You can't imagine Lemieux in a jersey other than a Penguins jersey. You just can't.
It's weird enough seeing Stamkos in a Nashville jersey.
Correct. That's weird. But I'm saying, but Stamkos is a great player, but he's not in the same realm as Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby's elite. Like that's like Wayne Gretzky, Lemieux, McDavid, Draisaitl. That's like elite. So he's way up there. But anyway, it's strange. So Sidney signs this 3-year deal now to take him from 36 to 39 years old with the Penguins, $8 million a year. He takes a deal. Like he's taken not a reduction, but $8 million for Sidney Crosby. Mind you, how he played last night. I don't know.
$8.7 million. So
yeah. But I'm just saying, you sign him there and then you put him out there with these guys. Like that's almost cruel. It's like putting me in front of a TV that on every channel, the only thing that's on is 90 Day Fiance. That's torture. That's not right. You shouldn't do that to Rick.
Or constant reruns of Forensic Files.
No, that's okay. But I'm just saying, putting me in a chair and wrapping me up with tape and making me watch 90 Day Fiance for 24 hours straight, that's torture. And it's the same thing with this. Watching Sidney Crosby play with those two guys for a game, that's torture. And it's torture for us to watch, and I think it's torture for him to play. Now, he's such a classy guy, he's not going to say anything. But that's the thing now. You want to stay in Pittsburgh? You want to win a cup there? You're not going to win a cup. I'm sorry, Sidney. There's no chance unless Kyle Dubas blows that thing up and he trades Malkin and Letang away for something, for draft picks or younger players. But then even that takes another 2-3 years to be realized. And by that time, you're going to be 40. That, like they say, the phrase, that window has closed. That ship has sailed. Pittsburgh is not anywhere close to winning a Stanley Cup. And I think no matter what they do, they won't be. They could trade away all those guys and they still won't be, because they're only going to get prospects and a whole bunch of draft picks. They're not going to get superstars in return. So, or younger superstars in their prime. Because what team would trade away? Like, it's like the Jets. Are the Jets going to trade away Mark Scheifele for Sidney Crosby? Are you nuts? No. I wouldn't trade that away in 100 years. Mark Scheifele's in his prime.
Which is why the whole contract extension thing to Crosby kind of confuses me.
Well, but I think they had to. It's like a tradition. This is where you get wrapped up your players.
You have to?
Yes, your players become part of your team identity and your legend and your,
That's a bye-bye to Blake Wheeler.
Yeah, but he left of his own. I think that was both sides agreed upon. Yeah. But
at some point you have to say, hey, you know what? Thank you for what you've done the last 12 years. We need to go in a different direction, or you need to take substantially less money.
Yep.
The salary cap loyalty in a salary cap world, it's why owners can't control themselves. And listen, you and I know an owner that is over loyal, that has not won a Super Bowl in my lifetime, and that is Jerry Jones. He's got Dak and CD lined up and nobody else, and the football team around him, because two guys are making a lot of money, is not good.
Yeah. They always say
I know it's football, but it's the same deal.
Yeah. No, they say as a GM, you should never fall in love with your players to the point that you can't trade them.
That is why I have an immense amount of respect for Las Vegas, Red. As much as it makes people mad.
Yeah.
They are not loyal. You are not good enough. They will find somebody good enough. They don't care if you did sign a 6-year contract. They don't care if you're the top selling jersey. They're always maneuvering to become a better team. They're never satisfied.
Yeah, you're right.
As much as it makes people angry, Vegas does it the right way.
Yeah. That's their choice to do it. Yeah. And it'd be hard for them later on when they want to retire jerseys or have Brian Little nights in their thing. You might have players not wanting to come back for that reason. I don't know.
Oh, but would you rather have that, or would you rather have 6 Stanley Cup banners in your building?
Well, they don't have 6 Stanley Cup banners. They only have 1.
But but I'm saying, would you, right?
Yeah.
Good question. You win championships, you gotta some class,
Yep. We got 5 minutes left.
Yep. Really quickly, I want to ask you, Rich, about one thing just on the way out here. That is the Toronto Maple Leafs. What have you seen from a Craig Berube coach team?
They're pretty good, actually. They had a really tough night on Saturday night. I watched that game against the Rangers. I mean, the Rangers are a good team, right? So,
right.
Yeah, the Leafs aren't bad. They're figuring it out. What are they, 3-2? Yeah, they're 3-2. Their net minding is not a problem. They've played pretty well defensively. 5 games. They've let in, 3 goals. Sorry, no, even less. They've let in just over 2 goals a game. So they're not horrible defensively. They just haven't scored a lot. They've only scored 3 goals a game on average. So their power play hasn't been lights out. Their defense has been very good. But what's that? Who's the goalie? Like, Wall is injured, but then the other guy Stolarz.
Yeah, they have Anthony Stolarz and Dennis Hilderby.
Stolarz has played really well. He's a big goalie. He's never found a place where he can kind of latch on and be a number one guy. I think he's good enough to be a number one guy in Toronto. I think Toronto's still going to figure it out. I'm not a Leafs fan. I just think they have too much talent. They have too much in place. I think they're still trying to figure things out with Craig Berube. But once they do, I think it's like with the Jets and that Rick bonus system that's now Scott Arniel. Once they all bought in, every single player bought in, then it clicked, and then the team started winning. Eric Comrie was saying it last night on the post-game show. He was just
saying, that's what I did see. Yep.
Yeah. He's never been on a team that he's seen complete buy-in from every guy, top to bottom, guys in the lineup, the black aces in the press box, that everybody's on the same page when it comes to the system. Everybody knows what they have to do. It's the same thing over and over. Everyone's bought in. He says, I've never seen that. All the teams I've been on, I've never seen it. This team, we have that. And he said that's a huge advantage, especially at the beginning of the season where other teams are trying to figure it all out. And he was giving a compliment to his teammates and to his coaches. But
and by extension, I think it should be easier for Eric Comrie to play hockey too if they're defensively sound.
For sure. Sure. He wasn't great yesterday. He let in one goal. He had a big rebound right there, really soft. He should have swallowed it up, and it was right in front for Eller to tap in. But I'm not going to hear into there because he made some other huge saves and whatever. We've only got a few minutes left.
Go on. I know there was one other thing that you wanted to touch on quickly.
No, I want to touch on like the week to come. We got a couple minutes.
Sure. Go ahead. The week that is three road games and a home game because we're not coming back till next Tuesday. At St. Louis, at Seattle, at Calgary, home to Toronto.
Correct. This is going to be a really good test for the Winnipeg Jets. At home to Toronto, where half the crowd is cheering for the Leafs. It's not even a home game.
I might be cheering for the Leafs. No, just kidding.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, that's whenever the Leafs or the Red Wings or the Habs come to town, it just makes me want to throw up. But anyway, that's another point. But St. Louis, Seattle, and Calgary, they're all playing well, and especially playing well at home. The Jets are going to have a real test on their hands, I think. But on the other side, the Jets are playing well. Their net mining is good. Their systems are good. They're playing well defensively. They're playing an up-tempo game. So I think there will be all very good games in St. Louis, Seattle, and Calgary. And then at home to Toronto. So I think the Jets are going to go over the next week. I think they're going to go with 2-1-1. I think they're going to lose their first game in regulation. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I did too. I mean, like, by all accounts, that I did some research on the St. Louis Blues. Evan Broberg is fitting in quite nice. Philip Broberg is playing pretty good there. And then the other guy they got from the Oilers is also fitting in quite nicely. I saw a quote where exceeding expectations for where they thought they would be as far as the management perspective goes.
Yeah.
Really quickly about St. Louis. I know we're out of time, but we talked so much about a lot of things. One thing that kind of went under the radar this offseason is they announced that Alex Steen will be the GM in waiting after Doug Armstrong takes a step back into more of an advisory role.
Is he assistant GM now?
Yeah. What do you think of this move?
Is he assistant GM now?
Yeah, assistant general manager now for the this year and next year, and then he moves into the big chair.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about Alex Steen as a general manager or assistant general manager. He's a good hockey player, but he's a smart hockey player. That's the thing. There's certain guys you just know, like, because all the players will talk and they'll say, oh, out of your room, like you got another 19 guys in the dressing room with you right now. Who amongst the guys you're playing with right now, who do you think is a coach material? And they'll say, oh, those two guys. Those two guys for sure. When they retire, they're going to coach. They've said it. It's just their makeup. It's how they think. It's how they understand the game. It's how they communicate the game. It's how they think the game. They're going to be coaches. And then they say, who amongst your group would be a GM? I said, I think it could be so-and-so because he sees the big picture. He can evaluate players' abilities and talents. He sees more of a manager. He just manages things really well. I could see so-and-so. So that's probably what his teammates said of him, Alex Steen, because obviously they wouldn't put him in that role if they didn't think that that he had the brains to do it, right? Because you could put any former player, right? You could put anybody.
I mean, look at Wayne Gretzky as a coach. How did that go?
Look at Wayne Gretzky as a general manager. Or why didn't the St. Louis Blues put Brett Hull to be a general? Now maybe he didn't want to be a general manager, but he's a superstar. But he's not a general manager. He's not a coach, right? You need a guy that can think the big picture and like that. And some guys have that, and some guys don't. It's not a knock on him. It's just some guys want to do it. Some guys have the ability, and some don't. So it's good on Alex Steen if he can. Listen, any general manager that is a former player, in my mind, has already a huge advantage, or it's just you got a lot more legitimacy with the players because you walk the walk, right? It's not that Chevy did not walk the walk. He played junior hockey, he got injured, and he still has credibility. But I'm just saying, if you've played,
same deal.
Yeah. I just think it's
same deal from the coaching side.
And
Anyway, we got to run. Anything else to add before we go?
No, I appreciate the chat as always. This was good. I look forward to the week.
You and I could have a 4-hour show and we'd still be talking. You said it just on the way out last week. You said like some about 4-hour shows and it just blows by and commercial breaks. You could build the content. Well, I agree with that. Anyway, this is great. It's been my weekly show. A bit of time with you as always. We'll see you next Tuesday. Enjoy the next 4 games. Rich, hits the thumbs up. Apparently that is automated. When people put their thumbs up, you get the thumbs up emoji. So there you go. Last sort of prediction for you on the way out. West final in Winnipeg or no? Yes or no?
For the Bombers?
Yeah.
Are they tied now in first place with Saskatchewan?
No, they're one up. They need a win or a right or loss to get it.
Did the Bombers have a bye this week?
Yep.
Okay, so who do they play remaining games?
Montreal, just Montreal.
Montreal at home and away?
Montreal at home.
Oh, they only have one more game left?
At Montreal left.
So they only have one more game left? That's it?
Correct, yep. Playoffs start next week.
I don't know. Depends if Montreal might sit a bunch of starters. I'm not sure. Because
they didn't let that. Vernon Adams led BC to a 24-3 win over them. So
yeah, well, we'll see. I know that's the thing. You know, it's like, look at every year, the Bombers, they're way out in front. They got first place wrapped up, and then they lay a turd in the Grey Cup. And then Mike O'Shea and Adam Bighill both said, you know what? The CFL is a long season. It really doesn't matter how you start. It's how you finish. The hottest team in the last month of the season going into the playoffs, that's usually the team or that ends up in the Stanley or in the Grey Cup or wins the Grey Cup. And
right now it's the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
That's Saskatchewan right now, yeah. So
right now, 3 wins in a row, yeah.
Yeah. So
and the Toronto Argonauts, 3 wins in a row. Montreal's
but the Bombers, Montreal lost. The Bombers are 7-1 in their last 8. So come on, you're splitting hairs. So
and Montreal's lost 4 of their last 5. So
I don't know. I think the Bombers are going to end up in second place, not in first place. I could be wrong, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
All we know is that Dave Dickinson better not have a job this time next week because he's throwing franchise right into the dumps.
I saw John Huffnagel on the TSN highlights, and he was doing this in the press box. He was just going like this.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I don't.
People's living, you know what level with the Stampeders has gone way down.
Yeah, I don't think if you're a Stampeders fan, you can't expect him to stay on. You just can't. You got to move him to up, like move him up, do him like fire him or move him into the press box or something. You got to get a new coach because it's not working.
Yeah. So, it's not. It's and his senior consultant just got fired in Saskatchewan last year, and Craig Dickinson. So
got fired doing what in Saskatchewan?
What? Craig Dickinson is Dave's senior advisor.
Oh, in the Calgary.
Yeah, in Calgary. So.
And he got fired?
No, he didn't get fired. Dave hired him as a consultant.
Yes, after being fired in Saskatchewan. Yes. Yeah.
So, anyway, too much time. Thank you for the OT. I will send the invoice for the OT, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Okay. All right. On behalf of Rich Petty, I'm Michael Dell saying thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you on Tuesday night next week. Good night from Winnipeg.